Clotheshorse is brought to you with support from the following sustainable brands. Selena Sanders, a social impact brand that specializes in upcycled clothing using only reclaimed, vintage, or thrifted materials from tea towels, linens, blankets, and quilts. Sustainably crafted in Los Angeles, each piece is designed to last in one's closet for generations to come. Maximum style, minimal carbon footprint. Shift clothing out of beautiful Astoria, Oregon, with a focus on natural fibers, simple hardworking designs, and putting fat people first. Discover more at shiftwheeler.com. Late to the party, creating one-of-a-kind statement clothing from vintage, salvaged, and thrifted textiles. They hope to tap into the dreamy memories we all hold. Floral curtains, a childhood dress, the wallpaper in your best friend's rec room. All while creating modern, sustainable garments that you'll love wearing and have for years to come. Late to the Party is passionate about celebrating and preserving textiles, the memories they hold, and the stories they have yet to tell. Check them out on Instagram at Late to the Party People. Vino Vintage, based just outside of LA. We love the hunt of shopping secondhand because you never know what you might find. Catch us at flea markets around Southern California by following us on Instagram at vino.vintage so you don't miss our next event. Gabriella Antonis is a visual artist and an ethical trade fashion designer. But Gabriella is also a radical feminist micro-business. She's the one-woman band trying to help you understand why slow fashion is what the earth needs. The one-woman band to help you build your own brand. She can take your fashion line from just a concept and do your sketches, pattern making, grading, sourcing, cutting, and sewing. The second option is for those who aren't trying to start a business and who just want ethical garments. Gabriella Antonis will create custom made-to-measure garments just for you. Her goal is to help one person of any size at a time, including beyond size 40. To inquire about this serendipitous intersectional offering of either concept, DM her on Instagram to book a consultation. Please follow her on Instagram and Twitter at Gabriella Antonis. And that's Gabriella with one L. Gotta get that spelling right. Dylan Page is an online clothing and lifestyle brand based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Our products are chosen with intention for the conscious community. Everything we carry is animal-friendly, ethically made, sustainably sourced, and cruelty-free. Dylan Page is for those who never stop questioning where something comes from. We know that personal experience dictates what's sustainable for you, and we are here to help guide and support you to make choices that fit your needs. Check us out at dylanpage.com and find us on Instagram at dylanpagelifeandstyle. Salt Hats, purveyors of truly sustainable hats, hand-blocked, sewn, and embellished in Detroit, Michigan. Find us on Instagram at Salt Hats. Karen Kinney Studio. Located in Western Massachusetts, Karen specializes in handcrafted earrings from found, upcycled, and repurposed fabrics, as well as other eco-friendly curios, all with a hint of nostalgia, a dollop of whimsy, a dash of color, and 100% fun. Karen is an artist/designer who believes the materials we use matter. See more on Instagram at Karen Kinney Studio or online at www.ckinney.com. Gentle Vibes Vintage. We are purveyors of polyester and psychedelic relics. We encourage experimentation and play not only in your wardrobe, but in your home too. We have thousands of killer vintage pieces ready for their next adventure. See them all on Instagram at Gentle Vibes Vintage. Thumbprint is Detroit's only fair trade marketplace located in the historic Eastern Market. Our small business specializes in products handmade by empowered women in South Africa, making a living wage, creating things they love like hand-painted candles and ceramics. We also carry a curated assortment of sustainable and natural locally made goods. Thumbprint is a great gift destination for both the special people in your life and for yourself. Browse our online store at thumbprintdetroit.com and find us on Instagram at thumbprintdetroit. Blank Cass, or Blanket Coats by Cass, is focused on restoring, renewing, and reviving the history held within vintage and heirloom textiles. By embodying the love, craft, and energy, that is original to each vintage textile as I transfer it into a new garment, I hope we can reteach ourselves to care for and mend what we have and make it last. Blank Cast lives on Instagram at blank_Cass, and a website will be launched soon at blankcast.com. Located in Whistler, Canada, Velvet Underground is a velvet jungle full of vintage and secondhand clothing, plants, a vegan cafe, and lots of rad products from other small sustainable businesses. Our mission is to create a brand and community dedicated to promoting self-expression, as well as educating and inspiring a more sustainable and conscious lifestyle, both for the people and the planet. Find us on Instagram at shop_velvetunderground or online at www.shopvelvetunderground.com. St. Evens is a New York City-based vintage shop that is dedicated to bringing you those special pieces you'll reach for again and again. More than just a store, St. Evens is dedicated to sharing the stories and history behind the garments. 10% of all sales are donated to a different charitable organization each month. For the month of October, St. Evens is supporting Feed the Streets LA, a community-based mutual aid organization that collects donated food, hygiene products, clothing, and educational items for face-to-face distribution. New vintage is released every Thursday at wearstevens.com with previews of new pieces and more brought to you on Instagram at wear_st.evens. That's Wear St. Evens. Country Feedback is a mom-and-pop record shop in Tarboro, North Carolina. They specialize in used rock, country, and soul, and offer affordable vintage clothing and housewares. Do you have used records you want to sell? Country Feedback wants to buy them. Find us on Instagram at Country Feedback Vintage and Vinyl, or head down east and visit our brick and mortar. All are welcome at this inclusive and family-friendly record shop in the country. Republica Unicornia yarns, handmade yarn and notions for the color obsessed, made with love and some swearing in fabulous Atlanta, Georgia by head yarn wench Kathleen. Get ready for rainbows with a side of giving a damn. Republica Unicornia is all about making your own magic using small batch, responsibly sourced, hand-dyed yarns and thoughtfully made notions. Slow fashion all the way down and discover the joy of creating your very own beautiful hand-knit, crocheted, or woven pieces. Find us on Instagram at Republica_Unicornia_yarns and at www.republicaunicornia.com. Picnicwear, a slow fashion brand ethically made by hand from vintage and dead stock materials, most notably vintage towels. Founder Dani has worked in the industry as a fashion designer for over 10 years, but started Picnicwear in response to her dissatisfaction with the industry's shortcomings. Picnicwear recently moved to rural North Carolina, where all their sewing and accessories are now designed and cut, but the majority of their sewing is done by skilled garment workers in New York City. Their customers take comfort in knowing that all their sewists are paid well above New York City minimum wage. Picnicwear offers minimal waste and maximum authenticity. Future vintage over future garbage. Welcome to Clotheshorse, the podcast that totally goes Christmas shopping at yard sales in July. I'm your host, Amanda.
And I'm Dani.
That's right. Dani's joining us today. This is episode 104, and I'm excited to have Dani here. We're going to be talking about all things related to better, more fun, more sustainable, and ethical gifting that is actually good and doesn't make you sad when you think about it too hard. Dani, why don't you remind everyone of who you are?
Hi, I'm Dani. I'm founder and designer of the brand Picnicwear. I've been on here a few times, but a long time ago, starting with episode 18, 19, 20.
Oh.
I know, long time ago, where I talked about my experience as a sweater designer working for large retail brands, aka fast fashion brands. And we also we talked about the very beginning stages of my brand Picnicwear, which is crazy. It just goes to show how long ago that was, because it was like when things were just beginning. You may hear my ad at the beginning of Clotheshorse. Picnicwear is a slow fashion brand, ethically made by hand from vintage and dead stock materials, most notably towels, vintage towels. I just moved from New York to rural North Carolina, and Picnicwear's clothing and accessories are made partially here, but still mostly sewn in New York by skilled sewists who we pay a living wage to. So that's my little elevator pitch about myself.
That's amazing. And I mean, the first time I talked to you, you were sewing all this stuff.
I know, yeah.
This is a really big deal. It's been exciting to see you grow. And
Thank you.
I felt that Dani was the best person I could think of to have this conversation with. We're really passionate about small business, about thoughtful gifting. We love giving gifts. We love thinking about gifts. So we are going to have fun today.
You sure are. I'm psyched.
So I was telling Dani before we started recording that I learned something new as I was working on this episode that I did not know before. And I'm shocked that I didn't know before, not because I think of myself as a know-it-all, but because I've been working as a buyer for so long.
Because you are a know-a-lot.
I'm a know-a-lot. Yeah. There you go. Hashtag know-a-lot. So we tend to think of the final few months of the year, what in business we call the fourth quarter or Q4. I bet that's giving you some flashbacks right there, Dani.
Oh, yeah.
The term Q4. We tend to think of that as the biggest shopping and spending time of the year. I know as a buyer, I totally thought about that. We would talk about it all the time. We got to get hyped up for holiday. We got to fill the stores. There's a saying we used to use called stack 'em high and watch 'em fly, meaning put a ton of shit in the stores and people will buy it.
I've never heard that. But
really?
That's intense.
I mean,
it's really intense.
It totally makes sense, right? Especially the one company that we both worked for, that definitely was their strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Stack them high and watch them fly.
For
and
sure.
As a buyer, you spend all year planning for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and just holiday shopping as a whole, followed by that big post-holiday clearance sale. We all know on the 26th of December, that's where the deals really come out of the woodwork, right?
Doorbusters is the one I remember.
That term creeps me out so much. It makes me think of a sample sale I went to at one of my employers. And it was in this room that had these big wooden, like vintage carved doors. You've totally been in this room before, Dani, I'm sure.
Yes, I have.
And it was like they opened the doors to let people start going in. And I got pushed against the door and I was stuck there and I got a splinter in my arm. And that's what I think of when I think of doorbusters.
I only went to one sample sale and there's a reason for that.
Yeah. I'm
that
like,
company.
Not my thing. You would see all these people you've never seen before who are ostensibly your coworkers behaving monstrously.
Yeah.
It's really, really
scary.
Very scary. Yeah. So I always think of that when I think of doorbusters.
Yeah.
Just people getting physically harmed and traumatized all in the name of deals. But, we have that big sale after Christmas because it paves the way for lower inventory levels in January. Basically, every retailer wants to have the least amount of stuff in their inventory in January as they finish out their fiscal year. Most retailers, their fiscal year runs from February through January, not January through December like we think of it. And so February 1st is the first day of the fiscal year. The last day is the next January. And they want to have the least amount of product left to carry over into the next year. Also, a lot of companies do inventory in January, so they finally know what they really have, what they lost, what was counted incorrectly, that kind of stuff, so that they can start their new fiscal year with, the cleanest books they can have. So these are like rituals that we carry out year after year after year in retail, in buying. We as customers have lived. We all know about Black Friday. We all know you got to get the hot deals. You got to wait until after Christmas. We know this stuff, right? There are all these like really smart business reasons why they exist, right? Guess what I learned? Customers don't actually spend more money during the holiday season than the rest of the year.
What? I can't.
I know. I mean, like I've always heard, like, Black Friday is when retailers go into the black, meaning they're making a profit. And there definitely was a time. We've always thought that like the holiday season is the make or break for most retailers. And I will tell you, There are still retailers where that is the case, but only about 28% of total consumer spending happens in that fourth quarter of the year. And if you hate fractions, which lots of people do, a quarter, aka 1/4, is 25% of the year. So doing 28% of sales in 25% of the year, it's not really that crazy.
No.
It wasn't always this way. If we traveled back in time to the 70s or 80s, there was a lot more shopping happening during the holiday season. But these days, if you're a company who relies on doing all your sales in that final quarter of the year, you've probably either gone out of business or you're getting pretty close to it.
Wait, so it's not just because like all the deals in the last quarter of the year make it so that it like, you know what I mean? Like, are people buying more, but they're spending less on each item? I'd be interested in that.
Well, people are still buying way too much stuff, way more than they need.
We know this.
The problem, the other problem, I guess, is that we've all actually been spending lots of money, way more than we should be, all year long. From toothpaste to cat food to new clothes to electronics to throw pillows, all the things that people just buy constantly aren't really thinking about it because they're not doing it collectively. Like, we don't have this holiday in March where all of us go out and buy toothpaste and throw pillows. But if we did, we would be more conscious of it being this big consumer moment. Yet plenty of people are going out and buying toothpaste and pillows in March, right? The thing is, at the end of the year, we're all thinking about gift shopping. We're thinking about what we're going to buy for people. We're asking them what they want. Everyone's talking about it, right? We're doing white elephant in the office. I'll tell you this. My experience working retail was that most people were just buying stuff for themselves until like the second week of December.
100%. I mean, I can even speak for myself with that. Like, not anymore, but definitely before I started trying to be a little bit more like thoughtful with my consumption. Yeah, for sure. It wasn't until like the last minute that I was like, oh shoot, like I've been purchasing a lot of things for myself and I probably should get some gifts now, you know?
Totally. We're going to give you advice and a lot over and over again in this episode that starts with start early. But I'll tell you, I have always been that person who really likes to compress it all into the last week before Christmas. I have this whole fantasy that no longer exists. I've never been able to actualize that in the past few years, where I'd have this whole day where I go downtown and I'm drinking a cocoa and I'm just shopping and I feel really festive. I have not been able to do that in years. It never works out that way. If you wait until the last minute, even before this year, there's nothing left. And it's really stressful and you feel miserable, right?
For sure.
But definitely that has been the mindset for a lot of people throughout the years. We think of this time of year as shopping time. But like I said, we've been spending money all the time throughout the year, especially in the last 10 or so years, because e-commerce has made constant shopping a way of life, even though in a weird way, it's like it doesn't really feel like shopping to us. And so we're not thinking of it as shopping, but we're buying stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas before we might have said, okay, I'm going to take Saturday and go run all these errands and pick up all these things that I need. Now we're like just
adding it to your cart all week long kind of thing.
Right. Doing it in bed, like it on the bus, whatever. And so we're shopping all the time. And we've been shopping even more for things we don't need throughout the year because retailers have been giving us this steady flow of deals. So yes, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, like these are the headline shopping holidays of this time of year. But you have to remember, like, Amazon Prime Day is in like what, July or something like that. And every other retailer has jumped on July being a time where you do Black Friday style sales too. I remember getting a ton of emails this year from like, Target or even other retailers might not be calling it out as like a shopping holiday, but they're engaging in it.
Aware,
and there's just, right. And there's just more and more of it. And I actually would find at some of my jobs, the real money was coming in January when we were having all those clearances. So it's so much more complicated. I think, yes, we all have gifting on our minds, But even the nature of holiday shopping has changed so much with like it being so much less in person. Even thinking about how like, for example, Toys R Us, right? Literally went out of business because people were buying toys online.
Yeah.
I mean, they also were spending too much money on real estate. That's a whole other thing. But like people just are like, I want this to be as convenient as possible. It's almost like gifting has become this obligation, this thing you have to do. Is there an app for that? You know what I mean? Like that's how people are looking at it. So we have got gifts on our mind, even though we give gifts year round. So Dani and I thought this would be a great time to talk about better gifting, which I'm calling slow gifting. It's not the most best name, I'll say that, but I couldn't come up with anything else.
I like it. I'm into it.
You like it? Okay, cool. I mean, I was like, it's like slow fashion.
And that's why we're talking about gifting in October, because we're starting slow, you know?
Right. And I will say I am that person who's like, I can't believe the Christmas trees are out and it's not even it's not even Halloween yet. Like I get angry about it.
I like that voice.
I also yeah, it's my like angry voice apparently. I feel like that's also the voice I use whenever I'm telling a story about mansplaining, and the mansplaining happens in that voice. Yeah, well, did you know the water is dihydrogen oxide or whatever? Like, go away. Anyway, so yes, we're going to be talking about gifting today. By the time you hear this episode, it will actually be Halloween Day. Congratulations, everyone. Happy Halloween. Nice. Get ready for other holidays.
Switching gears already.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't even see the night through and we're already talking about Christmas.
If you're not halfway done with your Christmas shopping by now or Hanukkah shopping or whatever gifting you're doing, you have made a mistake. No, I'm just kidding. But I will tell you, my grandma is one of those people who starts in like July. And I kind of went through a phase where I would make fun of my grandma for that. And now I'm like, I get it. I see it.
Well, I think it is really smart because it's like, there's always going to be an occasion or a reason to gift something to someone, whether it's like gift giving season or what have you. So if you like see something special for someone, like get it for them then, because then later when you have that reason to gift something to them, it's like, I have a little stash in my house of like certain things that I kind of like, mostly it's like thrifting things that I keep aside that makes me think of someone, and maybe I don't send it to them immediately and I'm like saving for a reason. Not that there needs to be a reason, but then when that time comes and you're like frantic and you have to get them something, it's like, yes, thank you, past me, you know?
Agreed. I also have become that person who's like, oh, I saw a good greeting card at the thrift store.
Oh, yeah.
Better get that.
Me too. That's the best. I love old cards.
Me too. Although then they're like twice as hard to send because you're like, but I love this card.
Oh,
it's so good.
I feel that.
So there are a few principles of slow gifting. I'm going to move through them kind of fast, and then Dani and I are just going to start breaking it all down. So the most important part of slow gifting is buying gifts with intention, like actually choosing what the recipient wants, not just what is available and easy. Like ask the recipient of this gift what they want and need and get that. Or choose something they don't know they need, but that they're going to love and you've really thought about. Because I feel like, I mean, I'm going to tell you, for some of the companies I've worked for, where we really made a lot of our money at this time of year was selling people stuff that no one wanted.
Yeah, like gag gifts and stuff.
Yeah. I think I may have talked about this on the pod before, maybe not, but the specific gag gift that I think of all the time when I get depressed about holiday gifting is Humphrey the Humping Dog.
Okay.
Which was yeah. We sold it at the retailer I worked for the longest. And it was like a gag gift, like a robotic dog that like when you squeezed him or something would start humping and howling. And like literally, who wants that?
What a piece of future garbage, for real.
Such a piece of future garbage. And we would sell thousands of them every week. People would call on the phone and say, are you out of the humping dog? When are you getting more in? And I was just like, if someone gave me this as a Christmas gift, unless they thrifted it, that'd be a different story. Then I'd be like, wow, you really listen to me when I tell you stories. But if back then someone had given that to me as a gift, I'd be like, wow, you must fucking hate me because you just gave me a thing I'm going to have to throw out and feel bad about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I feel like there's such a I don't know what it is, but some people feel like there's something wrong with asking someone what they want. Like it's not as like,
Yes.
what is it? I don't know what it is, but it's like it's not as personal. Like it needs to be a surprise. It needs to be something that I don't know what that is, but we need to make that stop happening because like I don't know. It doesn't, it's messed up. It's like if someone wants something, get them what they want. If you're going to get a gift anyways, you know?
Totally. Totally. For example, when someone has a baby registry, I buy them what they registered for because I know they need those things. They need, diaper changing
Yeah,
pads and the baby monitor or whatever. I don't need to go out and buy them a bunch of baby clothes that the baby's barely going to wear. And then they're going to have to go buy these things that they really
for
need. So it's just like
sure.
doubles
For
the
sure.
consumption there. And it's not very helpful to the people having a baby. So please, if
Agree.
people are registered, stick to the registry. It's going to be meaningful to them. I promise. They're going to be grateful and glad and think you're a very thoughtful, rad person. And if in general you're just like, I don't know what to get this person, just ask them. It
Yeah.
does feel weird. I think one, there's this belief that if you shop from a list or a registry that you don't care. And that's not true. And then there's this weird thing, like, I don't know about you, Danny, but my mom always made me feel guilty and uncomfortable for knowing what I wanted for Christmas or my birthday or anything else. She would be like, "You're
Oh
materialistic. You're
God.
rude." I know. I mean, my family is dysfunctional, but I think other people have similar experiences like that where it's like, we have a hard enough time. Now I'm going off in like some like self-help psychology rant, but we have a hard time saying what we
Yeah.
want and what we need. And this is just one way in which it manifests itself,
Right.
you know?
Agreed.
So another thing, we already are saying, okay, we're choosing with intent. We're giving gifts that are meaningful. We're also going to opt for secondhand gifts or items from small brands and makers when we can, because shopping small, shopping secondhand, and most importantly, shopping local has a pretty major impact.
Huge. Yeah.
Huge, huge. I mean, both environmental and economic,
Yeah. I think the thing that people have a hard time with is that, or okay, let me start with this thing that
Okay.
makes shopping at like Amazon so easy is that you can kind of shop for a bunch of people all at once, put it all in your cart, get that free shipping, done, That makes it really really easy, but when you're shopping from like small brands, makers or shopping locally, sometimes that takes a little bit more effort. I mean, it does take more effort, to have to shop from different places, and that sort of thing. So I think that's difficult for people, especially since I feel like people. I read this the other day, that convenience is not a human right, and I think that a lot of people think that they have the right to convenience, no matter.
And that it's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I get it, like, we're all really busy people, and there are so many demands placed on us, so it's very tempting to be kind of lured by convenience without thinking about the repercussions or thinking about where your money might be better spent. But, again, let's back to our original point. This is why we start early, because if you're waiting
Mhm.
until the last second, then yeah, you kind of have no choice but to do the really convenient, quick, fast, easy option. Um, so yeah, I think that's a big component of that.
Totally. And I was at the mall recently, in Austin, Texas. I was at a mall there, with Dustin and his sister Tessa, and we were just like checking out stores there because we were like, we haven't been in a mall in a really long time. Like what's happening here
Mm-hmm.
at the mall. And we went to the store called Box Lunch, which is owned by Hot Topic, and it's all like licensed merchandise. It's like, anime and Disney and things like that. And I was like, yeah, the thing about this is there's cute stuff in here, and like there are a lot of things in here that different people in my life they would they wouldn't be mad to get this as a gift. I don't know how useful it would be for them or what the longevity of it would be in their lives, but there was just something. If I turned to Dustin and I was like, this place feels so soulless to
Mm,
me because the things that you buy here, they might make someone happy, they might make someone really excited, but in general, like, what's the impact of buying this thing? Like, does it I guess it makes box lunch more money, but how does it help people on a personal level? And I just think things that you can buy local or from small makers, small stores, etc., are more impactful because like box lunch, this is like a meme that's been going around on Instagram for a while where it's like when you buy from a small business, they do a jig
A
or something
happy
like that.
dance, yeah.
A happy dance, yeah. I like jig. Happiest dance out
Yeah.
there other than the worm. And so like a box lunch isn't going and being like, wow, I'm so glad that Dani came in here and did her
Right.
Christmas shopping. It really made my day. And they're like doing a dance. But like if I bought a cute anime shirt from someone on Etsy, they would.
Mhm.
And I just think that makes the power of that gift even stronger and more special. And it's just like a better, happier story. And we're not here to shame you for shopping at the mall or buying from Amazon when you have to, because like real talk, we all have people in our lives who are really resistant
Yeah.
to anything outside of what they specifically want. And we want to give people what they want.
Right.
But this is a great time to start opening yourself up and the people in your lives up to other options out there.
Yeah. For sure.
So another one is, and this is not for everyone, this is one where you have a privilege and that privilege is free time, but you could make gifts when you have that time and energy. You can reuse materials and packaging for your projects. You can skip that brand new roll of wrapping paper. You can really make even just the act of giving the gift more sustainable.
Mhm.
I also would just urge you to revisit your gift list. Does everyone in your life need a gift? Does everyone in your life want a gift? Do you need a gift from them? Because I feel like the pressure to give a ton of gifts to everyone you know is just a product of consumerism,
Yeah. Yeah. I've
right?
definitely narrowed down like who gets gifts from me for sure over time
Totally.
because it's like, yeah, and it a lot of the time it's a conversation like we probably don't need to do gifts for each other, right? And it's like, yeah, we probably, like, and when you can double up gifts too, like that's always helpful. Like if you have a
Mhm.
couple, like if you're able to get something for them, like a joint gift that they can enjoy together, like that's awesome. And requires less having to, shop around and hopefully can require a little less money.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. I had a conversation with my sisters where I was basically like, "Listen, I know you guys don't have a ton of money. I don't have a ton of money. What if we stopped doing all this gift exchange and we took the money that we already have and spent it on ourselves?" I was like, "I would much rather see you go take a trip or go have a nice dinner or something than have to buy me and Dustin something. Like just go do something else." And one of my sisters was really excited and relieved, and my other sister thinks I'm a monster, but
Some people are very protective of gifts.
listen, there are going to be difficult conversations here for exactly that reason.
Yeah.
And we don't want to like destroy families with gifting strategy here, but I think it's good to start having these conversations. I think sometimes if you talk to someone about like, hey, maybe we skip gifts or we change it up or we draw names or whatever, they might be annoyed with you at first. They might be very loudly annoyed with you at first. But I guarantee it's going to start the wheels turning in their brains. And it does lead towards some change down the road.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I also just want to say we have to respect others' boundaries about gifts. If someone says no gifts, please just listen to them. Don't give them a gift anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
Because it just makes everything awkward.
yeah. Yeah, it's really uncomfortable because in most cases, if someone says no gifts, like a lot of the time, I mean, there could be a few reasons why they said that. They just don't like the waste that's generated by getting like all these gifts of things. Like that's how I feel oftentimes. Because it's like not to be like rude, but like likely it's not going to be something I like need or want because at the end of the day, anything that I really need, I will get for myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in other cases, it's like maybe that person doesn't have the means to get you a gift. So to be able to be receiving a gift from you when you haven't had the means to get something for that person, it can feel really uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And nobody needs that. This is supposed to be a fun thing,
Yeah.
not a bummer or stressful social intrigue thing. I'm just going to say that I almost never receive any gifts, and that's a function of a few things. I don't get like birthday gifts. I don't get Christmas gifts. And I'm okay with it. Like, it feels good actually, because it's like less stuff
Yeah.
that I have to deal
My
with.
parents don't really do gifts anymore either. Every year, basically, they like give my sister and I air miles that they've.
That's a
It,
good gift.
it's the best gift because it means I can come home and spend time with my family, and that is far superior than anything physical. And honestly, the fact that I live so far from my family is helpful with that because like I can't really bring home a lot of stuff in my suitcase.
That's really
And I
cool
got to
too.
leave room for all the thrifting I'm going to do when I'm home, which is a much better gift to me to be able to spend that time with my mom thrifting than for her to like buy stuff with me for me.
100%. And like, so yeah, for me, not getting gifts it sounds really sad to some people and they're like, "Oh my God, like you must feel so like alone and unloved in the world." And I'm like, I actually feel great. Like Dustin and I exchange gifts. We exchange gifts with Dylan. Give gifts to my niece. And, I'll surprise people with gifts throughout the year when I see something
Yeah.
special that makes me think of them. But it just makes it all so much more special. And I don't know, it saves us a lot of money in a weird way, which
Yeah.
is like a benefit because, it's good to save money,
Agreed.
right? Right. So I understand for some people with large families or different kinds of families or families that are really engaged in gift giving on the holidays, this is like a totally different
Yeah.
scenario. And we're not telling you that you should give up all your gifts and like just eat porridge on Christmas Day or something. Like, just like starting to revisit that because I guarantee everyone who's listening to this right now is like, yeah, I did get a bunch of stuff that like is still in a box in a garage or something.
Right.
So just starting to think about that. So we're going to say this like 100 times, but slow gifting takes time, hence the term
Mm-hmm.
slow, right? So it's so important that you shop early. For one, finding that perfect secondhand gift takes time, whether you're shopping from antique or vintage shops, flea markets, online platforms, thrift stores. I'm personally a big Christmas gift yard sale
Mm.
shopper, which I bought a bunch of stuff at a yard sale like about a month ago, and the person was like, "Wow, you found a lot of stuff that you liked," and I was like, "Oh, I'm Christmas shopping," and they looked at me like I was the saddest, most pitiful person ever. But seriously, I can't reveal what these items were because they're gifts, but it was some of the coolest stuff I've seen in a long time.
Sounds like you're taking after your grandma.
Totally, totally. Anyway, start early. Like, I'm glad that I was like, yard sale season seems like a good time to do some Christmas shopping. I also just like what Dani was saying earlier, start putting aside the perfect gift when you find it. If you are
Yeah.
an avid secondhand shopper, like Dani and I are, you're going to encounter these things like in March.
Yeah,
You know?
when you're not looking for it,
Yeah.
that's when they present themselves.
We all know the rule of thrifting. If you're looking for it, you're not going to find it.
Yes.
So always be prepared. And Dani brought this one up to me, which I think is really important. If you're shopping from small makers, artisans, Etsy sellers, what have you, order early, like seriously right now, to
Yeah.
ensure on-time delivery and save yourself and the maker a ton of stress. I just want to remind everybody last year of what a mess the USPS was. It's thanks to, defunding and all kinds of other strategic decisions to basically ruin the post office. But what happened is a lot of small makers and their customers got caught up in that,
Mm-hmm.
and like I would see, I mean, Dani, you and I have talked about small biz memes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We would see the craziest, most abusive stuff happening
Oh yeah.
because somehow customers hadn't gotten the memo that the USPS was messed up, which I don't know where they lived, how they didn't know, but they didn't, and they were being really abusive and terrible to sellers, which is totally messed up. And on top of that, they probably had a really stressful, unfun December because they were worrying so much about these gifts being delivered.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was, trying to get ahead of that in that people in the case that some people had not heard the news about the mail. And so when someone ordered for something from me and they made it clear it was a gift, I kind of told them and sent them a link to an article about the delays saying like, hopefully this doesn't affect you. I just wanted to let you know, like, there is a risk. So I gave them a suggestion in the case that it doesn't make it there in time, maybe have a plan to print out a photo of this Cobain sweater you bought from me just in case. And the person responded back like so gnarly, like so rude. And I was like, I'm literally sending you just a courtesy message. Like, I'm not saying this is going to happen. And lo and behold, they received their package on time. And I was like, okay, regrets. I should have never said anything, never have been kind. And yeah.
Yeah, really frustrating. I mean, that goes back to something I talked about in the Etsy sods, which is unfortunately Etsy has been trying to turn it themselves into Amazon.
Yeah.
And they've brought in
this was on Etsy, of course.
Of course it was. I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Etsy has brought in a lot of customers who think Etsy is Amazon, and it's not. And you're getting a lot of people who don't seem to know about the USPS, who are being really abusive, who want what they want when they want it. Anyway,
right.
I know nobody listening to that is going to act that way. Let's do a favor to all the small makers in our lives and ourselves by shopping early.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Can't wait to, I mean, it does give a lot of great content to small biz memes, but
I think they've got enough forevermore. Like they don't need more interactions.
Totally. The next thing is to like have a conversation with your friends and family about gifts now. Sometimes these conversations, like I said, are weird at first. So let's get them out of the way, especially if you're opting for a no gift holiday or you want to define boundaries around gifts, like nothing over $20 or no Amazon or any of your other values. If you have a list of things you actually need, want, if you want lists of things that other people need, want, if you want to redefine the way you approach gifts in your family, like you pull numbers out of a hat or something like that, this is the time to do it now.
Yeah. Or maybe you just want to recommend to your family that everyone shops local. Maybe it's just that, or shops from small businesses, or like sends an email with, a bunch of, like, if you're someone who's kind of frequently, interacting or following small businesses and stuff and have, a kind of a plethora of ideas of where to shop. Like some people, the thought of shopping small or local is like really daunting. So maybe you want to send an email out to your loved ones with like a bunch of ideas of where to shop from, what are good places to go, and some ideas flowing, because not everyone has listened to this Clotheshorse episode where they're getting, gifted all these ideas of how to reinvent gift giving season. So just sum it up in an email.
Totally. Can I just tell you what one of the best local gifts that you can give or receive is?
Money. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that too. It is a gift certificate to a restaurant,
yes,
cafe, to see a movie. Like, these are always my favorite.
And that's a great joint gift as well. Like I was saying, like instead of just getting something for your sister, you could be, wrapping together a gift for your sister and her spouse. And, maybe, they just moved to this new neighborhood, and you could do a little research and say like, oh, this looks like a really cute restaurant that my sister would love. Like, get a gift certificate for that. Or maybe it's a place that your sister went on her first date or something. Like there are ways to do it that still feel special, because I know a lot of people, they want to get something that feels special, and sometimes getting a gift certificate doesn't feel that way, which is, I think, is wrong and shouldn't be the case, but I get it.
Right.
So there are ways to approach it that you can kind of make it feel really special.
Totally. And I'll just tell you right now, if your family or friends live far away from you, you can most of the time order these gift certificates online or by calling the restaurant. I've done this a lot, and because I just like to surprise people with things like that. And more businesses, even small ones, have been able to create these gift cards without you ever walking into their restaurant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, this year, when we said shop early, we said start now, but I would be neglecting my duties here as a know-it-a-lot, by not telling you that this year it's more important than ever to start early, because maybe you've heard about this, maybe you haven't. there are supply chain issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought
it's a crisis, like a for real crisis.
it's a for real crisis. It's really, really bad. And I thought I would explain just briefly how that happened if you're not a supply chain nerd like me. We have to travel back in time though to 2020. Remember what a year, right?
I want to think about that year, but
AKA
I'll do it
last
for
year.
you.
Yeah, let's just think about it. So we have talked a lot here on Clotheshorse about how a ton of companies, almost all of them, all the retailers, canceled all or a vast majority of their orders in March, April, May, and June of last year, right? In the wake of the pandemic. We know that was unethical. We know people starved. We know people were thrust into even worse financial positions than they were already in. Lots of people along the supply chain lost their jobs. And that included not just the people working in the factories, but also the people working in the ports, on the ships, driving the trucks, packing the boxes, making the boxes that the stuff gets shipped in, making the poly bags, making the labels, you name it. Entire companies that performed these more logistical, less glamorous things literally went out of business. Plus, we cannot underscore this enough. A lot of people have died throughout the world of COVID. We still don't know how many, right? And so what's happening is there are not enough people working right now to get stuff to us. And this is the impact of retailers prioritizing profits over people, and I'm having a little bit of schadenfreude about this, coming back to bite them in the butt. Because if they hadn't been so selfish and made all those cancellations in the first place, probably a lot of those people would still be working, right?
So true.
But now they're not. There are not enough companies or manpower to make this stuff happen. So what's happening? Well, ships are backed up at the ports in Long Beach, in New York, all around the world. You look out into the ocean and there are just ships everywhere, just chilling out, full of huge shipping containers.
And it's so much more expensive to ship now for these retailers too. I'm sure you're going to go into this, but it's like, I'm sure it will actually have an impact on prices of things too. It has to.
It totally is. I mean, some of the clients that I work with, I mean, they're dealing with all kinds of things. They can't get raw materials that they had on order for months. Like they tried to get ahead of this too. Things have gone up in price material-wise 25, 30, 40%.
Wow.
The shipping, like you said, is so expensive. And so some of them are having to say like, okay, well, like this shipment of, I don't know, pillows, right? We're not going to take them right now because the cost of shipping them to us is so high that it's more than the actual pillows themselves. So we're just going to keep the pillows in India, China, wherever they're coming from, and wait until this crisis passes, which means these companies don't get to make money selling you pillows. And if you needed pillows, you are probably out of luck right now. And pillows were the first example I thought of, but I was thinking of things that are too big to go on the plane.
Right.
But too inexpensive to yeah, exactly. And so there's just a lot of this happening, and we're still kind of in the early stages of it. But like, for example, we've had a really hard time finding cat food. Just like the certain cat foods are becoming less available because they're stuck somewhere, or the cat food company is out of cans. It trickles down in a lot of different ways. So yes, stuff is chilling on ships. It's really expensive to get onto a ship right now. It's even more expensive to get onto a plane, and it's already expensive to ship via plane anyway. It's like not an option unless you're in fast fashion and you're making such a high margin in the first place. There is a trucking shortage. So even if you were like, I'm going to suck it up, I'm going to pay the increased shipping costs, or I'm going to bring it on a plane, I'm just going to suck it up, we got to get some product out there. There might not be a truck to come and drive it away and deliver it. There's a major truck driving shortage. And so another problem is that even as in ports, all these containers are being unpacked, there's no one there to drive the stuff away. And so that puts a stop to it too, right? Like they can't just keep unpacking huge containers like and stacking them up, you know? And so that's slowing it down as well. And so basically everything everyone was expecting to sell this year is late, with lots of orders that were supposed to arrive in September or October to get ramped up for holiday. They're now arriving in December or January, or not at all.
Wow. Yeah.
And just based on conversations I've had, things I've read, just all this information I've been taking in about it, it seems like there is no end to this crisis in sight. So when we get into
Crazy.
next year, it means like if you need a bathing suit, it might not arrive until the middle of summer, you know? There's a lot of weird stuff going on. This is the pep talk I give to all my clients right now when we talk about this. I'm like, this is a great time for you to try something different, to try to, you know, offer things that you make here in the United States, to
Yeah.
sell secondhand, like think about reuse materials. Like this could, in a weird way, be a good thing
For
for
smaller local
who
businesses.
care, who wanna
Yeah.
do better. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly. So, this is gonna be a weird holiday season. So, this means the early bird, that's you, because 'cause you're listening to Danny and I talk right now, you're gonna get the worm. The worm is the best gift. Uh, but it also means that the makers and the small brands, which we're telling you to shop from, are also facing issues getting the supplies they need. So, order now so they can figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they might not have huge stocks of things. So if you see something now that you like if you wait on it, it might not be available anymore because they might not be able to get more supplies for it.
Yeah, yeah. One of my clients ordered 300 candles and received 3. Because the company was like, "Sorry, I just don't have enough, so I'm just shipping everyone 3."
What?
Which is like, well, I don't know
Not
why.
just
That doesn't
that's
even make any
what's the
sense. I
point?
I was like, "I feel like I should talk to this company and give them some advice." But we'll deal with that later. Yeah, so seriously, small brands out there are already really struggling. Everyone's been struggling since the pandemic. Now there's this uncertainty around materials and everything else. Order now and give sellers a peace of mind. Seriously, they deserve it.
Yeah.
Um, so we've been talking a lot about shopping small. It's something I believe in so wholeheartedly as a person who has to think about this stuff all the time. I cannot underscore enough that small business is the future. It's too late, and this is depressing, but this is the real fact. It is too late for the biggest companies out there to magically transform into sustainable, ethical brands because they've been following this really unethical, wasteful model for years and years. I think about some of the places I've worked and I try to imagine how they turn it around, and I swear smoke starts coming out of my ears. I'm like, where would they begin? They
Yeah.
don't know either, right? That's why
I
they
actually
greenwash.
I had a brand reach out to me the other day about doing some freelance work, and it's a brand you and I have both worked for. I've worked for them on and off for years, but I finally got to the point where even though financially it would be really helpful for me, I just can't do it. And I told my sister this, and she was like, "But don't you think that you could have like an impact if you went in there and you could like have some say and have in like making some changes?" And I like didn't even know how to begin to explain to her how like funny that was. Like, I don't mean to be rude, but that's just like I like first of all, as a freelancer, you really don't have much say in things at all.
No.
I mean, like obviously in the designs, of course, but like in the actual ethics of the business, like even as a designer working full time at those brands, I didn't even have any impact. I mean, Amanda, you've talked about this thousands of times before. The only two things that could change how those businesses run is one, law and regulations, and two is them losing money because people aren't buying from them anymore.
It's true. It's true. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is the reality. I know this from working within them. I'm laughing to myself about you charging in there and they're just changing their ways, especially the company you're talking about. I
Yeah.
mean, for example, I was brought in like under I don't know, the delusion, we'll say it's a delusion, that we were working on a more sustainable brand and some practices around that. And that was really exciting to me. And pretty fast, I realized that we were not. And like, here's an example. I said, hey, I noticed that we are putting inside, like we were shipping in these mailers that you send back. They're made of recycled plastic. That's great. But inside, like on the lid of these mailers was like a little plastic window and you would slide in the shipping label, right? Then
Mm,
when the customer was sending back what they had, they would pull that out and stick their label in and it would come back and then, come back to the warehouse where that would be taken out. A new customer's label would be stuck in there. Here's the deal. They were being printed on non-recyclable stickers on like a plasticky
mm,
backing. And so the whole thing wasn't recyclable. And it didn't need to be a sticker in the first place. It could just be a card that would be recyclable because it would be made of paper and just
right.
slid in there because it wasn't sticking to anything.
Didn't
So it was
need to
just
be a
wasteful.
sticker. Yeah.
And I said, why are we using a sticker? Could we move into paper? It would just be so much more sustainable, especially on the scale that we're trying to operate. And they were just like, no.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it.
And
so,
always that phrase like, well, this is just how we do things here.
Yeah.
This is how we've always done
it's the kind of printer we have. And I'm like, well, why? Why do we have that kind of printer?
Just stop rocking the boat, Amanda. Let's
exactly. Guys, that's why I don't have a job. Anyway. But that's the reality. Getting these companies to change their ways would mean completely dismantling their current way of business. And they're not, they don't want to do it and they don't know how to do it. Small businesses can constantly make changes to be more sustainable and ethical because they're small. Like, Dani, if you were like, oh my God, all my mailers are plastic, this is really depressing me, you could easily shift into reusing mailers or compostable or paper or whatever. And it wouldn't have to be 37 meetings. There wouldn't have to be a task force to work on it. There wouldn't have to be all these budgets drawn up and this rollout plan and like project management software. It would just happen. And the metaphor I like to use a lot is turning a bike around is really easily. The bike being small business, turning around a huge cruise ship it takes like a day because it's so huge. It's just not easy it can't pivot. That's what big business is.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
And I just think like if you are sitting around waiting for Zara to become sustainable and ethical, you're going to be sitting there for a really long time. You're going to get weird like bed sores from sitting. Just don't. It's not going to happen. Small businesses also have a major impact on their communities. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, when you spend $100 at a small business, $48 of that stays in the community. If you spend $100 at a big box store, whether that's Target or I would even put Walgreens in there, only $14 of that stays in the community. Small businesses also create jobs in a way that big businesses do not. Since 1995, more than half of jobs in the United States were created by small businesses.
Wow.
And to be clear, because there's always that person who sends me a message like, well, then Amanda, that means the other half was made by big business. Nope. So not true, because the biggest employer in the United States is the government, whether that's federal, state, or local. So small businesses are really creating jobs here in a way that big businesses are not. And if you still don't believe me, because you're like, I don't know, like you work for Amazon, you're married to Amazon, I'm not really sure. From 1990 to 1999, while big businesses eliminated 4 million jobs in the United States, small businesses added 8 million.
Wow.
That's big,
incredible.
Yeah. But, big businesses outsourced. They tried to work with a leaner and leaner staff, got to the point where we're all doing like 17 jobs and burned out and stressed out.
Or having robots.
Or having robots. Yes, totally. And the last thing I'll just say here, if you're sick, well, let me ask you, Dani, are you sick of the rich getting richer while everyone else struggles more?
There's nothing I'm more sick of, Amanda.
Right?
Nothing in this world.
Do you think that billionaires are cool?
No, they're the worst.
Right. Does wealth inequality really get your goat?
Gets my goat.
Gets it so hard, right?
I don't really understand that expression, but it gets my goat.
Well, you might feel powerless. And this is the kind of stuff I see all over the internet all the time where someone's like, well, I'll never have the impact of Amazon, so I'm just going to curl up and die. No, there is something you can do about it. I mean, there are a lot of things you can do. And one of them is you can shop small and shop with smaller businesses, because smaller businesses, equal redistribution of wealth. Last year, Amazon's revenue was $21 billion. That means they sold $21 billion worth of stuff. Imagine if instead of one big evil business selling hundreds or selling billions of dollars worth of stuff, if it was 100,000 smaller businesses, each of those businesses would be bringing in $210,000 in revenue each year, which is a pretty decent little business. That would mean more people doing the things the right way, living their dreams, supporting themselves and their families, and still you being able to buy all the stuff that you need. Small business is the best in that way. It breaks up wealth kind of magically. So why would you give your money to Amazon or any of these other big dudes when you know that you think billionaires are really uncool?
Yeah, so uncool.
So uncool. So now we're going to talk about gifts. That's what you're here for, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with starting early. Where should you look, Dani? Tell me what you would do to start early with your shopping.
Okay, so it depends on who you are, of course. There's a lot of different ways that you could approach this. We've kind of talked about a lot. I think secondhand, if you feel comfortable secondhand shopping, if you're good at that, there's places IRL you can go. There are thrift stores. Like, of course, start with the mom and pop thrift stores if those are available to you over like the Goodwill type things.
Yes.
If that's possible. There's flea markets there. And you and I were talking about like one of our favorite places for gifting is antique malls. Like there's so much in there for so many different people.
And I think the term antique mall sounds expensive and fancy.
Yeah, that's true. I never really thought about that because I frequent them so often. But yeah, I think you think antique mall and you think like really like super old, like dusty lamps and like weird like chests and stuff. But no, you could get like, there's some really cool stuff and lots of like that fun mid-century colorful stuff that I love. And often clothing too. Like sometimes I find like some of the best vintages in antique malls because it's like kind of untapped. So you might find like a small rack in a corner and it just has these like amazing pieces on it.
Totally.
So if you know, if you're not, maybe you're still staying away from like IRL shopping, like at brick and mortars, but there's online platforms you can shop for secondhand as well. Amanda and my favorite, eBay, there's Mercari, there's Poshmark, there's Etsy. You know, we don't like Etsy as a platform, but we like the small businesses that sell on there. So still want to support them.
Totally.
But maybe check out their Instagram first and DM them and ask if they'd rather purchase it another way. That's what I always do.
Oh, that's a really, really good idea. And seriously, like I cannot emphasize starting early enough. For example, Dustin has been wanting a vintage NPR tote bag for years. And every year I would wait until like a couple weeks before his birthday or his anniversary and look, and I couldn't find anything ever. And I was like, one of these days I'm going to get him one. I just know it. And earlier this year, like as in January, I was like, okay, our anniversary is coming up in October. It's 5 years. It's a big one to me. So I'm going to start looking for this bag now. And I was on eBay. I was setting the notifications, you know, saving my searches, looking constantly. And I found him a vintage NPR tote bag, dead stock, really, really nice. And it was actually for WITF, which is the NPR station here in Central PA.
Oh my God.
And he was so jazzed when I gave it to him on our anniversary.
That's so cute. I love that.
So you can't procrastinate if, you know, and that was something like really special.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned this before. I hadn't really ever thought about this, but some people, I guess, are like, well, what do I even get secondhand? You said some people have like DM'd you, which I guess like I never really thought about that because I'm like such a secondhand savvy shopper. Like I find stuff all the time, but just some examples, like you can find really nice pottery. You can find like funny mugs. Like who doesn't want like a new fun mug? Any sort of like ceramic stuff. Then books. There's like a plethora of books. There's like cookbooks. There's how-to books. There's, fiction, nonfiction. There's so many different kinds of books you can get. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite are the Better Homes and Gardens books with like crafts and stuff. So
Yes.
I've actually been collecting a lot of those types of books to eventually sell through Picnicwear. I'm doing these like how to, like these little like DIY kits, which I'm really excited about.
Cool.
What else? Board games, linens. Like you can find like beautiful blankets, quilts, Afghans. Like bring it home, give it a nice bath. Like what a wonderful gift to receive. Who doesn't need, another blanket during the cold months? So there's lots of different things.
Totally. Bric-a-brac, maybe some like glass grapes.
Oh, look at you getting specific. I love that one.
I don't know. I was just thinking I have a couple sets and people are always like, I don't know, sending them to me, not like literally, but sending me links to them. And I'm like, yeah, this is a great gift. Who wouldn't be so stoked
That's
to get this? Or like, I think that like vintage glassware is always so cool, especially if your friend is an aspiring mixologist.
Ooh, yeah.
Or any other, like you can find other like vintage barware out there and there's a surprising amount of it. And it's always really cool. Like, I don't even know why we make new glasses anymore because there are so many glasses out there. Same with mugs, right?
I totally forgot. Yeah, barware is such a good idea. I got that for my friend when she moved. I got a really cool vintage barware set that was totally unopened, but from the 70s. It was so cool.
Whoa, cool. And like also, vintage toys are a really great gift too. A lot of the antique malls we go to out here have a lot of gifts, like toys from the 80s, 90s, and the aughts.
Awesome.
And so, if there's someone special in your life who, really always wanted an easy bake oven or, this specific Barbie or, I mean, I don't even know. Like, it's all there. Dustin gets so excited when he sees like old like Transformers and things like that.
That's
so
awesome.
I think that can be a nice little fun gift too.
Agreed.
There's so much stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think people often when they think of like secondhand shopping, they automatically think of clothing, which is also a great secondhand gift too. Like it can be, buying clothing for someone else can be hard, but like if you're, buying something that's not like super structured fitting or something like a flannel or a sweater and you go that extra mile of like giving it a nice hand wash, like that is such a lovely gift and the extra effort is appreciated by many people.
Totally. Another thing you can do if you're like, I want to give a gift to someone who is like hosting dinner or is just someone I want to show my appreciation to, it can be for their birthday or anything. Can I just tell you that every thrift store I go to has 9 million vases. And you could easily pick up a vase, a cool vintage one, and do a little flower arrangement.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. I found this vase at the thrift store out here, and I was like, Dustin and I were laughing because it was like so avant-garde. It looked like something that would be at the Echo Park Craft Fair in LA and selling for like $500. And I looked it up online, and it was actually a really rare vase, like model, I guess if you will, made by this like known like sort of cult pottery company, and it was worth like $400.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
awesome.
I paid $3. So anyway, there's so much cool stuff like that out there. Also, I just have to add like food gifts are always great. Whether you put together a little gift basket of food, by the way, if you need a basket, so many at the thrift store.
Yeah.
Like the basket industrial complex just keeps churning them out. I don't know. Did your mom collect baskets at all when you were a kid, Dani?
I mean, I wouldn't say she like collected them, but she had like a number of them. Yeah, but I've been to estate sales of people who like were full on basket collectors, and it blows my mind. Like I went to one not long ago, and it was like a whole room full of baskets, and I guess it was like some like fancy brand. They were so expensive. It was really odd.
Totally. I can't think of the name right now, but I know what brand you're talking about because sometimes people, when they post their yard sales here, will be like, we got these blah, blah, blah baskets. They're like longer burgers or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. And so, I had a boyfriend in college whose mom had been collecting baskets forever, and they were just like hanging on every wall in like the kitchen, the dining room, the living room. You name it. Anyway, there are so many baskets at thrift stores that you like. I love even putting together a little gift basket of cool thrifted things and books and maybe some jam or local food, things
Yeah.
like that. People love food.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like one of the few people who started making sourdough at the beginning of the pandemic and has not stopped. And
What?
I
Congratulations.
one a week, seriously. Like
That's
I'm pretty
amazing.
impressed. Well, I had been wanting to do it before the pandemic hit. So, yeah. Anyways, just pat myself on the back for that one. But I've like when I've gone to visit a couple friends throughout the year, and I've brought them a loaf of bread, like I still have a friend who brings it up that they yeah,
Aww.
like people really love when you make food for them, especially if it's something that like you're not eating immediately, but it's something for them to enjoy during the week, like pickled red onions or something like that. Like there's so many easy things you can do with that, and get a cute little jar from the thrift store that you're going to put it in, so it's like extra special in that way. And that's,
Totally.
yeah, great
Some
gift.
friends of mine a few years ago, they made like coffee flavored liqueur for everyone. And that
Wow,
was an
that's rad.
awesome gift. Yeah. And I had another friend who went through a phase of doing all these infused vodkas, and she would give everybody like a little sampler for Christmas. What an awesome gift.
My
And by
sister
the
made
way,
bitters one year.
see, and these things are not hard and they are
Right.
very appreciated and
Exactly.
special.
Yeah.
So, there are so many ways to have a great holiday without logging onto Amazon even one time,
Yeah.
and get people really excited. I also think like I talk about this all the time here on the show. We are all influencers to the people around us,
Yeah.
and we can be the example that everybody kind of copies. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So making gifts, secondhand gifts, food, local, these are all things that we can kind of spread throughout the
Absolutely.
community by just living that way.
Yeah.
Um, I know that everybody who's listening to this is going to be like, you forgot about this other thing you can make. So if you have suggestions for things you could make that aren't too hard, but people love, send them my way. We'll share them on social media. I love hearing about them too. So
One thing, so what Jason and I did last year for Christmas that everyone enjoyed, actually my mother-in-law was using it last time she was here. So, and that was, really cool to see, was we made those, we used vintage fabric and made, those like beeswax wraps. And I know a lot of
yes.
people have a lot of beeswax wraps now. So we like went the extra mile and I sewed little bread bags. So to put your, out of the, and then, that's some work though. That was tough. And I like ruined my iron from it. We did the iron way. I think in hindsight, we should have done, there's like two different ways you can do it. You can do it in your oven too. But
Ah.
that's when you actually kind of have to start early because you got to get the supplies, like the beeswax and then the right kind of like oil, and like it's a whole thing. But it was fun. It was a fun thing for Jason and I to do together as well, which was cool.
Yeah, well, and I think that's another thing is that like over time like I said, I don't know, I feel like we've been talking for a really long time. It was about 100 hours ago when we started talking. I mentioned how like gifting has become such as like an obligation and a source of stress, and we're forgetting how the fun of it all, the fun of creating new traditions, of working on something fun with someone else you love,
Agreed.
the
Yeah.
satisfaction of making something, of giving something to someone that like really knocks their socks off or makes them feel loved. Isn't that what gifting is supposed to do? Remind people of how special they are to you.
Yeah,
This is a way to
absolutely.
do that. Whereas like that random thing that you saw at the checkout at Target probably isn't going to do that.
Right.
Definitely the humping dog is not.
Yeah, I was just going to say, certainly not that gag gift. Whatever it may be. Last year's humping dog, this year's who knows.
Totally. And so I want to bring the fun back to it because I love giving people gifts. I love searching and finding that perfect thing, or not searching and coming upon that perfect thing and being like, oh my God, I cannot wait to give this to so-and-so. Like
Absolutely.
I'm so amped up about it. And I just want us to have that again. I think, not to be like, they're taking losing the meaning of Christmas or whatever, like nothing like that. Just to say like, holidays and gifts, they're all supposed to be about like love and happy times and showing people how much we care and
Yeah.
enjoying one another's company. And like, I think,
We all need that.
we all need that more than ever right
Yeah.
now.
Yes.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just talk about small businesses a little bit more here. You suggested something which I really loved because, the thing I hear time and time again is I don't know where to find small businesses. Where are they? Who are they? I'm confused. It's hard. You said look to your families and friends who have small businesses first.
Yeah.
Start there.
I think we forget, even myself, I forget about that. When we were talking about that, I realized that there are people in my family, like my cousin's fiance. She's a ceramicist. Can you imagine if I bought something for her, for my mom for Christmas? Like that makes 3 people happy. And that's a family member that I'm supporting. So I think we often forget about the people directly in our lives who own small businesses, because I guarantee you there are one or two in your family. So I think that's really meaningful, and can benefit more than just the person you're purchasing for. So I think that's definitely something to think about.
Absolutely. I kind of try to prioritize people I already know. Then the next tier is what's in my area.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, like small businesses I know on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that said, like sometimes the perfect thing for that special someone in my life is not going to be from someone I know, and it's not going to be local, and I'm going to go right to the internet to buy it. And that's okay too. Like the most important thing here is being intentional and not just buying stuff because it checks a box.
Yeah. Exactly.
So if you have someone in your life who does not want food from you, does not want a gift certificate, does not want some artisan made hand good or something secondhand, and what they want is a video game or an Instapot or whatever, just get them that,
They'll be getting it ultimately, eventually. Yeah.
Right. So this doesn't mean that like, listen, some people like they want really specific things. A lot of people want really specific things. Give them to them because that's the stuff that doesn't end up at the thrift store next year.
And that, to add on to that point, one of those things that a lot of people want, or like something that somebody wants that maybe they can't purchase themselves, is maybe because it's like kind of too expensive for them to buy on their own. And that brings up another point, is the concept of pooling together for a gift. Like if you know that your grandma is using like a really old TV, maybe it's not within your means to buy a new TV for her yourself. But if you get your whole family together on pooling together for this gift, it could end up being like, depending on the size of your family, like $20 per person to get grandma a new TV. Like how amazing is that, So I think that pooling for gifts is definitely something that we should consider more, because honestly, at the end of the day, like if we all get a bunch of tiny little tchotchkes, that's one thing. But to be able to just get one thing that you wouldn't be able to purchase yourself, that's really special.
For sure. I love that idea. A few years ago, so my grandma only listens to music on records. Not because she's a hipster, but
original hipster, unintentional hipster.
Totally. She had the same stereo that was like a piece of furniture, like the big console where you lift the lid, forever, like since before I was born. And she would get it maintenanced and all that stuff and kept it going for like decades. But one day it was just like, it's done. There are no replacement parts for it. Yeah. It has been fixed too many times. She was really sad because like, my grandma doesn't have a smartphone. My grandma doesn't have Spotify. And so all she could do then was listen to the radio, which was like, radio's not that good. So the whole family went together and bought her a new stereo that it could play MP3s. She doesn't have internet at her house, but like it played records.
Right.
And it also was able to play tapes. And so she was able to listen to all kinds of music, and she cried when it was delivered.
That's so lovely.
Just such a good gift, right?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it would have been a major cost if one person had bought it, but with everybody contributing, it was affordable and it was so impactful.
Oh, I love that.
And so I love the pooling gift. It doesn't have to be someone in your family. It can be someone in your friend group, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Absolutely.
The other thing that I just want to bring up, I think is really important. Can we just talk about shipping for a minute?
Please. You know, I mean, I've been on here a couple times and we've talked about shipping. It's something I like to talk about.
Right. Shipping is not free. Even if Amazon is giving you free shipping all the time, or Ulta, or Hot Topic, wherever you're ordering from, you're paying for that shipping, right? Like, you're paying for it in the
Yes.
costs that you're paying for the goods. I'm going to tell you right now, shipping is going up a lot this year. Unsurprising. It's not just the USPS. It's sort of like if one shipping carrier raises their rates, which is, the Postal Service, everyone else follows. It's like
Yeah.
gas prices. That's how gas prices work too. If
Mm-hmm.
if two gas stations are across the street from one another and one of them raises their prices, so does the other one immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And so shipping is more expensive this year. Please, please do not squeeze small brands, small sellers, small businesses for free shipping. Do not demand it. Do not send them harassing emails about that. Don't ask them for free shipping. You asking for that, demanding it, expecting that is literally taking money out of someone's pocket.
I think what we have to understand is that, like, when we see free shipping, you just have to understand that it's padded into the cost another way. So when you see someone actually stating the cost of shipping, it's kind of like this psychological thing where you like see it and you're like, I don't want to spend that on shipping, but please just remember that the alternative way that that business could have approached it was by padding it in. And maybe you would have liked the sight of that better because you think you're not paying for shipping, but it's all the same. I think that's what
Totally.
people have a really hard time with, is they see it added on and they're like, I don't want to have to pay that much for shipping. But like, if you had seen it padded into the price, you wouldn't have blinked and it would have been the same price in the end.
Absolutely. So I've talked to a bunch of makers from our community who are like, I just raised all my prices $6 to $10 so I can offer free shipping because that's what Etsy's demanding. When we talk about larger companies like Amazon, well, first off, Amazon does lose money on Prime shipping. They have been working for years to close that gap. We're talking a massive gap of money that they're losing. And so how have they narrowed that? Well, I mean, treating their workers like crap,
Mm-hmm.
cutting costs in every way they can, pushing on all of their suppliers for lower and lower pricing, which then hurts workers also. And so basically, there is no such thing as free shipping. Someone's always paying, whether it's you or someone across the world or the person delivering your packages or the people making the boxes or anything. We have to get
Mm-hmm.
over it, and we have to budget for shipping.
Yeah.
If you don't want to pay for shipping, then get in your car and go to the store.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's my lecture. As a person who sends stuff to people in the mail, let me tell you, it costs money, okay? And like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect, like, imagine if you were sending a gift to a friend and you said, hey, I'm going to send you a Venmo request for the shipping. That would be insane,
Yeah,
right?
it would
And
be.
rude. That's kind of what you're doing with small brands, small makers, small businesses when you ask for free shipping. You're saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy this for you, but can you give me my money for the shipping?" Like, no.
Something to consider also is like, if maybe you're sending a gift to someone who you're not going to be seeing IRL, is to have the gift shipped directly to them. So you're not having to like have it shipped to you just so you can wrap it and then you'll be shipping to them. So you're paying for shipping twice. That does add up. So a lot of small businesses, even if they don't have it offered directly on their website, just ask them directly, like, hey, I want to ship this directly to my friend. I just want to make sure that it looks nice and presentable when they receive it. Maybe, most of the time, a lot of these places are shipping with tissue paper anyways. Maybe it just means they're going to add on like a little note for you. Just ask. If they don't have it offered, it's possible that they can do something for you, especially if that will incentivize you to buy something from them.
Totally. And just like, let's save all this extra shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Reduces your
So-
carbon footprint on that gift to begin with.
Totally. Please pay for shipping and don't be a jerk about it. It's very luxurious to have something delivered directly to your house.
It is. It is a luxury.
Okay, well, Dani, why don't you tell us what you're up to with Picnicwear, how it's going, what you're doing?
Yeah, I would love to. So speaking of gifts, we do have some things planned. Some are already launched. Great things with gifting in mind. Like, for example, we relaunched our reusable face pads that are basically like disposable cotton pad substitutes, and they're made from remnant towels from our like hat and short and everything projects. And we actually sold out of like almost half of them, so I had to stop marketing them because I was like, oh
Wow, that's
damn,
awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think that they're just like a really good gift. I mean, who knows, most people might be buying them for themselves, but I know somebody bought like multiple sets, so I know that they're buying as gifts. So I've already sent like a new bag back to New York to Skilled Laborers Brigade so they can start working through the next batch. They do take a lot of time because they're made instead of like, in a factory setting, they would like spread out like bolts of fabric and cut them all at once. But these ones are like literally hand cut individually because we're working from the remnants. So they take more time. But yeah, I'm excited about that. We have what we're calling our birthday cake shirts, or in flannels. We call them that because they've got like decorative rickrack on them in bright colors. Yeah. So those are really fun. And those are, they're made from men's shirting. So we have them in a range of sizes. We do a similar thing using pre-loved sweatshirts with appliques on them. And we're launching really soon. We've kind of been teasing it, but I found a couple of these zodiac sign towels. So what we're going to do is offer like a made to order option. So you can pick your sweatshirt, your vintage sweatshirt, and then which zodiac sign you want with 2 colorways, but there's only going to be 2 of each.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we'll applique it on. So that's a really fun gift. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we're putting together these like vintage dead stock DIY gifts, that will have like a book, like a DIY book from the 70s, and then some like dead stock thread, needles, buttons that I've been collecting for a while. So those are really fun to gift to someone who's maybe like a crafter or a wannabe crafter and hasn't started yet. So those are the things that we've got going, a few more things. But yeah, overall, like I have to say, I've talked to a lot of small businesses over the past few weeks because things have been kind of tough. Like I think that last year, I feel like a lot of us expected to be hit really hard by the pandemic, but there was a lot of talk about like helping small businesses. So I think a lot of people had that on their mind. And then of course, like, a lot of people were at home. So maybe they were like, looking at their phones more, engaging in social media, and like people were getting, the stimulus checks. A lot of people had extra income from their jobs where they would be like traveling or, going to restaurants and stuff. And so they weren't using their disposable income on that. So last year was a lot better for many companies. And then this year, that's when we've kind of been experiencing the effects of COVID, which have been like slowing things down a lot, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, I know it's not easy to support small businesses all the time financially. But a little bit goes a long way when it comes to like interacting on social media and like resharing, commenting, that sort of thing. So that's a way to show your support for small businesses. Yeah, we all are getting that like Instagram burnout though. So I understand why a lot of people are not on there. I'm trying to kind of better use my time on there, where before I was doing like a lot of mindless scrolling. Now I'm like, spending a little less time, but trying to engage a little bit more, commenting, that sort of thing when someone's doing something rad. Because I feel like it's easy to just scroll on there forever and just kind of like get lost in it. But I'm trying to focus more on like real interactions with people so I don't get kind of lost in that. I don't know how you've been feeling about that.
Me too, right? You and I were talking before we started recording where I was like, I barely see any of my friends on Instagram anymore. And then I look at them and they like look at their grids and they've been posting every day. Like it's just
Yeah.
really hard to see what matters to you right now. I'm just getting served a bunch of stuff I don't care about. And so when I do see something from someone that I'm excited about, I'm being sure to comment on it, like it. Something I think about all the time is like, how can I use Clotheshorse as a platform to support the small businesses in our community? And I think probably starting this week or like this week when this episode comes out through the rest of the year, I'm going to start sharing stuff in stories that I see that's cool, like
That's
just to get it out
awesome.
there more.
Yeah.
And I would encourage all of you to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you can support small business, the makers in our community, all of this without spending a dime, because really what we need to do is get them in front of more eyes.
Yeah. I was talking to Shelly of Room Shop about this, and she was like, when we do the, like you might have noticed that a lot of small businesses are doing the like this or that, like the polls. And the reality of it is like, it's the only way to get people to see your content. Like Instagram, it's going to change overnight. Probably by the time that this airs, they're doing it differently now. But like for a while, it was like, my views on Instagram stories were super, super low. But as soon as I put like a poll in there, it would like, yeah. And it's because it's asking people to engage. And she was saying like, do people just think we're like so thirsty? And I was like, little do they know we're fucking like dehydrated because Instagram is, like there's no choice we have. So don't just, when you see small businesses like asking you to engage, like hopefully that's not like a big turnoff, because it really shouldn't be. We're just trying to do our jobs and make ends meet. So it's been tough with Instagram changing and like so many other factors.
Totally. And I think, one of my resolutions for 2022 is like how we can work as a community to support and lift one another up, because we have to.
Yeah.
There is no choice here. I think that it feels embarrassing maybe to some people to ask for support from the community, and I don't want them to feel that way. We need to protect what is ours, because the reality is, and we've talked about this here before, you and I have even talked about this, the big brands that are out there that are shitty are seeing what we're doing and they want a piece of it, and we need to fight even harder to keep them off our turf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once again, if you hate billionaires, if you hate wealth inequality and rich people getting richer, supporting small businesses is the way to fix that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many other pieces of that puzzle, but this is one way that can almost be low effort. Okay.
Yeah. Truly. Yeah. Even if it's like I said, if it's not within your means to spend money with these small businesses, there's other ways to engage that can be really, really helpful. And going back to our conversation about like talking to your family about supporting small businesses, because maybe your family has the means to do it. So
yeah, if your family does, get them on board, send them links.
Yeah.
Gosh, maybe they want a Pinterest board. I'm not really sure. I mean, like I said, the question I get most is like, what can I buy secondhand? Followed by, where can I find small businesses? And I'm like, they're everywhere. Like,
yeah. I mean, I hate to direct people to Instagram when it's like been so awful, but like honestly, like just get in a rabbit hole on Instagram and you'll end up going from like one small business to another, and you'll find what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely like check out hashtags, check out the explore page, just see what's out there, see what your friends are sharing. It's more fun that way anyway.
Exactly.
All right, well, Dani, I feel like we went on an odyssey here. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I feel like we spoke about a lot of things. I'm just like, really thankful for this community and thankful for you giving me this platform to speak. It's been really fun, and like I said, it was like what, June or July of 2020 that we had our first long convo. So it's
What a
really nice
life.
to reconnect.
I know. We have to have you back more often. It's really fun. I actually love when guests come back. I can't explain it, but I'm like, we get to hang out again,
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Dani, for taking the time to talk to us. And thank you to all of you for listening to another episode of Clotheshorse. If you like what you're hearing, please leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, tell a friend, tell your family, tell your neighbors, tell your cat. Your cat probably already knows, but just in case, tell them. And don't forget to share all your favorite small businesses with all of them. If you'd like to support my work here on Clotheshorse, please check out patreon.com/clothehorse-podcast. And I just want to add thank you, as always, to my other half, Dustin Travis White, for our music and audio support. Bye, everyone.
Bye.